the Holy Bible, Adult Bible Study Class. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Eating the Holy Bible on Facebook and YouTube. And my name is Miss Crystal Ross. I'm your Adult Bible Study Lesson teacher. And my reason for coming is that we can study the Word of God together. And we are reading from front to back. And today we're in 2 Samuel 21. Without further ado, I want to go ahead and get into our lesson for this evening. And it reads, we are reading from the New Living Translation of the Holy Bible. We're again in 2 Samuel chapter 21. There was a famine during David's reign that lasted for 3 years. So David asked the Lord about it, and the Lord said, "The famine has come because Saul and his family are guilty of murdering the Gibeonites." You may be asking, who are the Gibeonites? The Gibeonites had a treaty for protection. So the king summoned the Gibeonites. They were not part of Israel, but were all that was left of the nation of the Amorites, who were Israel's enemies. They taunted the Israelites. The people of Israel had sworn not to kill them, but Saul, in his zeal for Israel and Judah, had tried to wipe them out. And you know, Saul will do that. Saul will gain territory. Saul did not honor the treaty between Israel and the Gibeonites, and yes, he knew about it. The people of Israel had sworn not to kill them, but Saul in his zeal, again I say, for Israel and Judah, had tried to wipe them out. If you remember, he tried to wipe out the future King David. David asked them, "What can I do for you? How can I make amends so that you will bless the Lord's people again?" So these people have cursed the Israelites. They are a stink in their nostrils for killing their families after making a peace treaty with the Israelites, right? Well, money can't settle this matter between us and the family of Saul. They have a vendetta against Saul's children. Those that remain of Saul's family. The Gibeonites replied, "Neither can we demand the life of anyone of Israel. We don't want anybody else, but who we want," it says, David asked, "What can I do for you then? Just tell me and I'll do it." Then they replied, "It was Saul who planned to destroy us, to keep us from having any place at all in the territory of Israel." Hey, they were next in line. "So let 7 of Saul's sons be handed over to us, and we will execute them before the Lord at Gibeon on the mountain of the Lord." This just lets you know how serious the Lord took this treaty. Keeping your word to protect someone else's life. "All right," the king says, "I'll do it." The king spared Jonathan's son Mephibosheth, who was Saul's grandson, because of the oath David and Jonathan had sworn before the Lord. Jonathan was David's best friend. Saul's son was supposed to be next in line, but Saul was disobeying the Lord. But he gave them Saul's 2 sons, Armoni and Mephibosheth, whose mother's name was Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah. He also gave them 5 sons of Saul's daughter, Merab, the wife of Adriel, son of Barzillai from Meholah. The men of Gibeon executed them on the mountain before the Lord. So all 7 of them died together at the beginning of the barley harvest. Then Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, the mother of the 2 men, spread burlap on a rock and stayed there the entire harvest season. That's where she slept, on a rock, on sackcloth. She prevented the scavenger birds from tearing at their bodies, trying to preserve them during the day, and stopped wild animals, oh my God, from eating their bodies at night. When David learned that Rizpah, Saul's concubine, what she had done, he went to the people of Jabesh Gilead and retrieved the bones of Saul and his son Jonathan. When the Philistines had killed Saul and Jonathan on Mount Gilboa, the people of Jabesh Gilead stole their bodies from the public square of Bethshan, where the Philistines had hung them. So David obtained the bones of Saul and Jonathan as well as the bones of the men the Gibeonites had executed. Oh my, you hear that? The Gibeonites, enemies. Then the king ordered that they bury the bones in the tomb of Kish, Saul's father, at the town of Zelah in the land of Benjamin. After that, God ended the famine in the land. All right. So you remember Jonathan and Saul were fighting in battle, and they had succumbed under the pressure of the enemy. Okay. So finally, David was avenged because, Saul was going to go out there and fight. And Saul was warned, I believe, that he was going to die in battle, but Saul did what a king did, and he fought. Jonathan was also in that battle, and Jonathan was David's beloved brother in the Lord. But they were best friends. And now David went and got Mephibosheth, not Jonathan's son. They had another family member named Mephibosheth. Okay. Let's go to 15. Battles against Philistine giants. These were family members of Goliath. You remember the story of David killing Goliath and stoning him with a rock, which he fell unconscious and took his head off with his own sword. All right. Once again, the Philistines were at war with Israel. And when David and his men were in the thick of battle, David became weak and exhausted. Ishbi Benob was a descendant of the giants. His bronze spearhead weighed more than 7 pounds, and he was armed with a new sword. He had cornered David and was about to kill him. But Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, came to David's rescue and killed the Philistine. Then David's men declared, "You are not going out to battle with us again. Why risk snuffing out the light of Israel?" Come on. They didn't do this for Saul now. Actually, Samuel, the prophet, came to warn Saul. After this, there was another battle against the Philistines at Gob. As they fought, Sibbecai from Husha killed Soph, another descendant of the giants. During another battle at Gob, Elhanan, son of Yair, from Bethlehem, killed the brother of Goliath of Gath. The handle of his spear was as thick as a weaver's beam. In another battle with the Philistines at Gath, they encountered a huge man with 6 fingers on each of his hands and 6 toes on each of his feet, 24 in all, who was also a descendant of the giants. But when he defied and taunted, don't do that, Israel, he was killed by Jonathan, the son of David's brother Shimea. These 4 Philistines were descendants of the giants of Gath, but David and his warriors killed them all. And that does conclude the reading of scripture. It's time to talk about what we've read. What we've learned is that David's people is looking out for him. His men sit him down and say, "Oh no, we are not going to lose our king. You've proven yourself, David." The women have played the tambourine, and this is how this got started, with the jealousy of him and Saul, that he killed more in battle than Saul. Saul had promised him a wife, and then he made him prove himself even more because he didn't want to give his daughter to David. He didn't want David to be his son-in-law. He wanted Jonathan to be next to the throne. But because David was such a warrior, everybody could see David coming as king. I mean, there was already lifting him up, and that's what made Saul so jealous. So I want to talk about the Gibeonites. They were in the line of fire. They were next to be dethroned. They were next in line. You see, they were the enemies of Israel. They were living in a territory that was to be claimed. But these people knew that the Israelites were coming. And they were coming with God. And that they needed to do something, and something quick. So they decided, let's pretend that we are someone else so that we can get coverage, indeed, from this instruction that we know is of the Lord. So they understand that God is a spirit because they seek guidance from the Lord and they take instruction from him. And these people understand that the instruction was to take them out. So they go and pretend to be distant neighbors. Oh, don't worry about what land we're from. Just know that we come from so far that everything we got is aged. How they even made it that far, I don't know. But the Israelites were fooled. And instead of consulting with God, it says, Joshua, their leader, signed an oath, agreed, him and the elders, they agreed not to touch these people. And because of that, now the people, Israelites, grumbled, oh my, we have to protect these people and we were supposed to take them out. That would have been land for us and our children. But what they gained was servants forever, people to look out for them. Kind of like your watch, the people who would watch and let you know could be insiders, people who knows how the enemy moves. So this could be to their advantage, but Saul, the new king, decided not to keep the peace treaty. Now we all know that if you have an ally, you want to keep an ally. Don't surprise the ally with an attack. You definitely don't directly attack your ally. But Saul wanted to go ahead and get the land, and he is not operating in the spirit of the Lord. Like God did not agree with this, and God usually goes along. So God had to correct him. God had to correct. He had to punish Israel. And Saul's dead and gone, but Israel is suffering because men have lost their lives that were supposed to be protected by the children of Israel. And guess who feels this? The Gibeonites. So, because the Gibeonites are suffering, the Israelites have to suffer. You're not going to eat good. And you want to know why? It's because of what you did. So now you consult me. Now you want to know why we had this famine, Lord. So David sought out the Gibeonites to see how he could please them so that, again, the land could be fruitful. And so we see that is how the story went. And the Lord, again, he took away the curse from the Israelites because they were cursed by the Gibeonites. The Gibeonites is just, I hate this. Lord, may they probably praying against them. And so God heard them because the elders had already warned, we cannot, no matter if we were tricked, we got to keep our oath. Because this is serious now. We're dealing with people's lives, okay? And you don't want people coming, your neighbors, coming and messing and coming and sneak attacking and doing all this stuff while you in your sleep. So what is our takeaway from this lesson? What have we learned from our studies on today? And I think our lesson is to keep your word to man, especially when you've made an oath to God. Now, unless you go to them to tell them that it's been reversed so they can prepare themselves, it is imperative to stick to your oath. Thank you all so much for stopping by my page on YouTube, Crystal Ross. But this is the Eating the Holy Bible series, as we are going to be continuing where we left off tomorrow. 2 Samuel chapter 22 of the New Living Translation of the Holy Bible. And yes, you can find us.
We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram.